If you are new to our channel, don't forget to hit that subscribe button.
Had a couple of questions come in this week. How do you know when it's time to harvest yacons? It's my first time growing them. Thank you. Now, first of all, what is a yacon?
A yacon is a root crop from South America, and it's kind of like, it's also known as a yucca.
Okay.
It's kind of like a less starchy potato mixed with like a jicama.
It looks like a sweet potato when you dig it up.
Yeah, it looks like a very pale sweet potato. But it's a neat plant. It's kind of fun to grow. We can grow them here in our zone. So ideally, if you could get them to put a flower on, that's when you harvest them.
Right.
You're going to harvest
6 months.
Yeah. You're going to harvest them basically you're going to leave them in the ground as long as you can and harvest them before the first freeze.
Once the frost kills the foliage, then you can harvest the plants. But you want to remove them before the ground freezes. That is correct.
Mm-hmm.
Another question here. I live in Pennsylvania and still have some red beets in the ground. The leaves have died back. The shoulders are exposed. The bottom of the beets still look good. Do you think they are edible? Any advice? Thank you.
Well, I would pull those beets out and I would cut off the funny shoulder parts and eat the rest because they're still good. And you can do whatever you need to do with them, but they are definitely still good.
That's right. I want to address, and because we got cut short a couple of weeks ago, about how to buy or what to know to buy a good pressure canner.
Sure. So the first thing you want to do is you want to think about, how much money you want to spend.
Right, because you can go $50 to $800.
Well, I don't know as cheap as 50, but it's probably 70.
$70 to $800.
Yeah. So
Massive.
that's one. Two, so once you determine that, you want to determine how much you're going to pressure can. So those two might go hand in hand. You might think, this is my budget. However, maybe I have some wiggle room because I'm going to do a lot of pressure canning. There's a lot of things you can pressure can besides vegetables, and a lot of people don't realize this. So if you are like a hunter or you get a really good deal on meat, you can pressure can a lot of meat. And that makes it shelf stable.
Specific types of meat, not fatty meats.
Right. So like chicken, venison, beef, but the high fat stuff like the inner part of the chicken. Personally, I would get a dial gauge. We were given a weighted gauge one as a wedding gift, and nothing wrong with it. Not complaining. I probably would have gotten a little bigger one, but it works for what we need. Mm-hmm. So that's one thing to consider.
Type of stove, is that important?
Yeah, it could be. They're not typically as heavy as a regular canner because you're not putting as much water in there.
And I bring that up because there are certain stoves that have a weight restriction and it can basically crack the elements. Like what do you these what type
like
of
glass top stoves.
Like glass top stoves.
Also, there's like conductive heating or something like that. Yeah, so you want to look into that as well. Think about your stove. So and there's a lot of guides online. It'll Google how to buy the best pressure canner, and there'll be a guide for you. Like if you're going to do X, Y, Z. Definitely, I would not try to make a dual purpose where you're trying to get a pressure cooker and a pressure canner. That's not ideal.
Right.
It's just like one or the other. Something like an Instapot type deal. Not for pressure canning.
Okay. So some things to keep in mind there when it comes to pressure canning, pressure cookers, and you cannot safely use an electronic device in order to can anything, right?
Right. Yep, that's correct. So I guess a lot of times people think, I want a pressure canner. Ask yourself why. There's a lot, not saying you shouldn't get one, not saying you should look into it, but there's a lot of things you can do with a water bath canner that you might not realize that you can do, right. like we've found ourselves.
Well, if you don't want to call in to the show or you've missed the live show, you can always drop us an email at twvgshow@gmail.com, or you can actually send us a voice message. You go to the website, thewisconsinvegetablegardener.com, and you follow the prompt that says leave a voice message, and you can do that anonymously, or you can include your information where we can respond back to you personally, or we can just use it on the show, just like this question that came in about cockroaches.
Hi, I know this is a new one for you. There are roaches that have invaded the neighborhood, and I'm wondering what can I use that would not be toxic to bees and to other things in the environment to get rid of them in the yard and the garden? Thank you.
So with any bug infestation, whether it's external or internal, we want to, one, clean the area, keep the area clean of crumbs and debris, that type of thing that would lure them in. This is the same thing for rodents as well. Secondary, if they're outside and you want to prevent them from coming inside over the winter, what you want to do is make sure you've sealed up all the cracks and holes and that type of thing in your home. Okay, so if they're outside, you can use chemical application. There's a number of products online in which you can do this. There is more organically ways of controlling, treating, killing. You can use the sticky pads that you get that they'll get stuck on and they can't get loose, but that doesn't always kill them. So boric acid powder is what you want. Now, you want to use 3 parts of the boric acid with 1 part powdered sugar. Now, this can be applied inside and or out. The disadvantage to outside is if it rains, get moisture, damp, whatever, it will clod up and get mucky and the roaches won't consume it. 3 parts boric acid to 1 part powdered sugar. The sugar lures the roaches in while the boric acid kills them. Now, boric acid is not toxic to people or pets, but it can be irritating to skin, and you just want to make sure it's out of reach of children and pets and other wildlife, I guess, if you're not trying to control or kill them. But it will work very, very effectively if you don't want to go with the chemical application in order to control roaches in the house and or out. So it's something you can do to control things in your area. Last week we talked about Creeping Charlie and the infestation and the abundance that it can choke out your native grass. If you have to go a chemical route, Fox 6 News here in the Milwaukee area did a story on this, talking about how invasive it is and what's going on with it. So, yeah, I think you can go to fox6news.com if you're outside of the Milwaukee area or here and catch that story. But you can use a chemical application at last resort. 2,4-D. It's a broadleaf spray. It will kill the creeping Charlie, but won't affect any of the grasses that are there. So you could spray it, get it back in check, reseed that area, and it should greatly reduce the problem that you're facing with the creeping Charlie in your yard. Thank you for checking out the Wisconsin Vegetable Gardener radio show. For more, go to the WisconsinVegetableGardener.com for full-length in-studio video and podcast replay of Season 1. Season 2 underway and added weekly. Tweet us at TWVG Show or hashtag TWVG to be part of the program.